Here we are at the Gilded Balloon once again on the Showbiz sofa in the library bar. And as Gary, I'm fairly certain, has mentioned, my next guest is a Facebook friend of his. It's Blyth Duff. Blyth, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. He has been stalking me, I think, maybe for about 3 years now. I keep trying to delete him.
Did he add you? Is that how it started?
Now you're asking me questions that no, I had to add him because, as I say, he was going, please, 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 can I be your pal?
And eventually you just
And eventually
thought, you know
I thought, it's easier just to say yes.
the path of least resistance, and here we are. So it's good that you've been physically reunited today.
It is, it's
then, at
lovely,
least.
I know.
Yes.
He's looking very handsome there, sitting there in his T-shirt and looking quite relaxed.
Oh, he's loving it. He's loving it. He's
Loving
having a
his
fun
life.
time. Absolutely.
Loving his life, very good.
Great to see you today. We're in the library bar at the Gilded, of course. It is the end of the first week of the festival, which seems extraordinary for one thing. Your play is Kira, and it's on at the Traverse Theatre. How's it been going so far?
We've had a fantastic week. Actually, we opened a week ago last night.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you're familiar with the Traverses programme, but it's a rolling programme. So sometimes you might be on at 10 o'clock in the morning, the next day you'll be on at 12, the following day you have to be on at 2. So you have a moment's panic as I'm sort of on the M8 thinking, please make it be the right time that I'm going to my work. So, and I wondered how the 10 o'clock show in the morning would work.
Yes.
And actually everybody was very awake, as was I, so that was good. That's always a bonus. It's a solo show, so I expect quite a lot from the audience.
Yes.
And it's very full, and they have to do a lot of listening.
It was written for you, wasn't it?
Well, yes, it was. I had worked with David Harrower in 2010 on a piece called Good With People, which kind of grew arms and legs and ended up in New York just in the springtime there, which it was fantastic. And we kind of, obviously, I love his work, and he seemed to think that there was something he could write. And he's from Edinburgh, but he felt the need to write a piece about Glasgow, and took the M8 as part of his inspiration. And he said to me at that point, I want to write something, I want it to be very descriptive about Glasgow and warts and all, which there are a few. And he said, I kind of have a feeling that it would be something that, I would really like you to be in. And so we worked quite closely together, which was nice. And we now have Kira, which is actually, it's universal, but it's so seriously set in Glasgow that I'm sure if it was shown in Glasgow, they would eat it up and spit it out.
I think the M8's it's a fascinating sort of device, really, to use to display the difference, I guess, between the two cities in a way.
Suppose it is, yeah.
Because the way the motorway interacts with both cities is very different. In Edinburgh, it comes up to the edge of the city but never actually touches it. In Glasgow, of course, it goes all the way through.
It goes all the way through, and I think that was part of the problem, is that it sliced the city in half. And therefore, it became a kind of really unusual thing. And it was, David had the inspiration that that councillors had gone out to LA in the 50s, had seen the freeway and came back, and then we had the M8. And so, I mean, he deals with Glasgow in a very descriptive, and its characters in a very descriptive way, but it's also set against the backdrop of the art world, which, because we have the Glasgow School of Art, obviously we have produced incredible artists over the years, and they themselves have an extraordinary story. So it felt like as if we had found the marriage of both the art world and Glasgow, and how they connect, and the gangland side of Glasgow and how it's been legitimised, and how the gangland actually are very, very drawn to art.
Okay.
Which is quite it's something I might not have thought about up until...
No, that's a connection which, if it hadn't been explicitly drawn in that way, I probably wouldn't have
you
thought
might
about
not
it.
have thought. I think people are scared of art. I don't know about you. I love art. I love speaking to artists. I like to hear about how they create their work. But a lot of people are really apprehensive because it might not suit their sofa, it might not be the right colour for their walls, and so they tend to have quite a kind of they worry whether or not they're going to have a good opinion about it.
Or if it's the right opinion.
Exactly.
Or if it's an intelligent
Exactly.
opinion. I remember actually when I was at school, I can't draw or paint to save myself, but I was always interested in art. And I wanted to pass a specific qualification in art, which I wasn't able to do by virtue of my lack of drawing talent and painting talent. But I was able to scrape it together by writing a piece. I got 20% of the grade or something in terms of writing about the history of art. And I very quickly realised that you can write almost anything about art.
Because nobody will come back and contradict you.
Yeah.
But interestingly, can you read music?
No, but I have a musical ear, I think.
And that, by all accounts, if you have a musical ear, if you can read music, seemingly you can draw and you can paint. Okay. And so it's interesting that and I have spoken to a few artists who the mathematical structure of Bach, for instance, allows them to create their paintings, which, I can't believe, but they have Bach playing,
Yeah.
that unfurls something, unleashes something, and then you get a masterpiece.
It's the same parts of the brain that
Must
are being
be, and
activated. In some way.
obviously we all have different ways about how we find our creativity, but I think that that's for me something quite extraordinary. But the play also sits in a very nice. There's a lot of humour in it, and there's a lot of really raw material in it. It's heart wrenching, it's unflinching. She says within the first 3 paragraphs, I do not expect you to sympathise with me, because she's unflinching in the way she tells her story, and she needs to tell her story. She needs to be heard. So the audience, they know what they're coming to. They can't, if they don't like it, then they have the choice, they can walk out. But
And so you talked about this being a piece written by an Edinburgh writer for you, a Glasgow actress, being performed in Edinburgh at the
Yes.
festival, and I think you alluded to the possibility or the hope indeed that it might play in Glasgow at some point.
Oh, I
and
think it
you'd
has
be
to.
interested to see how
I
it
think it needs to.
play there.
I think it needs to play in Glasgow. I think it needs to play in Ireland. I mean, I think that there is a real, in the West Coast, I think we have such an extraordinary gravity towards Ireland and affinity towards Ireland, and it actually it's ingrained in Glasgow in a way that I don't think it's quite the same in the East.
It doesn't seem to be on
It's
any
not.
level, really.
It's not,
as
but
far as I can
if you
see.
think about Liverpool and
Yeah.
the docks
Yeah.
and the way that Ireland and Belfast and how we've had this kinship, and so it seems to me that it would sing quite happily in Ireland. So I feel as if that's maybe also another, and also maybe Liverpool and down to Manchester. It feels like as if the voice would be right for those areas, very industrial areas, and who understand the dynamic. I mean, I think it's a universal story. I think we have this underworld that's not actually hidden anymore. It's very, very obvious. And I think Kira deals with it in a very unflinching manner.
You talked about the audience as being very receptive and that you're quite demanding of them in the nicest
Yeah.
possible way in terms of what you expect from them, and the fact that you're performing the show at different times. A lot of performers, I guess, particularly at festival time, because it's such an intense experience, do get into a daily rhythm where they know exactly what's going to be happening every single day for 3 weeks. Has the fact that you're on this rolling schedule where you're not really entirely sure when you're going to be performing too far in advance, has that been a confusing experience or a disorientating experience?
I think we're very, we all know, we're all kind of going through this, and the stage crew at the Traverse have this incredible feat that they, mount shows and they take it down and they put it back up another one, and so it's an incredible machine that happens. But we are aware of, we know exactly when we're going on. It's just you have to keep this schedule very much in the fore, But I think in some ways it allows an audience to come in if they're working. They can see it one night at 9 o'clock. If they're not working, they can get in, at lunchtime, and it's an hour and 20 minutes, so it's very doable in that way. And
So on this Friday afternoon, when is your next performance then?
tomorrow, probably about 3 o'clock-ish tomorrow. We had one at 12:45 today.
Okay.
So the next one will be about 3. The following day it will be 6, and then it goes to 9, and then, as I say, this first early morning thing. But it seems to be, I think people are very aware of how the Traverse works, and it seems to work for them. So it's good.
Well, you're on until the 25th of August. You do have Mondays off.
Have Mondays
that's
off.
known as well. So how have you, as a Glasgow talent, been spending your time in Edinburgh or on your days off?
Do you know what? I have to be very honest. The show only opened last week, and I haven't been able to listen to the radio. I haven't been able to look at a magazine. I have not been able to. I'm frightened if I do anything else but exist in this world of Kira, I might forget the lines. So it's kind of bubbling, and probably only now. My daughters are walking about going, is it okay to speak today? Do you know what I mean? Where are we up in the whole scene? But it was lovely this morning. We got off for giving a fringe first.
And as I was about to congratulate you
it's
on that.
just,
Yeah.
I mean, I have never been award friendly. It's one of these things that I've
In the sense that you've not won them, or there's something
never
about
won
what
them.
you do?
No, just never won them. I think I spent so much time on television, an incredible 21 years, and I think it took us something like 3 years before we finished for somebody to say, "Oh, we think we'll give Taggart an award."
Why was
Which
that, do you think?
I think when things are very close to home, people kind of accept them as being that's a given, and you're there, and you don't need to be applauded or you don't need to be patted in the back. And it's also quite a Scottish thing. I think we're quite kind of, no, you don't get awards, you know.
Yeah. Was it a
So-
fear of the parochial, maybe?
I
in
don't know.
Scotland,
I
was
don't
it?
know. I don't even
Strange
think it's. I think it's more just that you kind of just, and in some ways it goes into people's psyche, and I think in some ways that's actually quite a nice thing. See if it's about the public actually want to remember it and be part of it, and you know. So whenever and I actually got another award this year, which has never happened to me. It's so so I turned 50 in November,
No.
and I seem to be having an award frenzy. So I'm really chuffed.
What was the
that
other award?
It was a Cats Award for a show that I did called Iron by Rona Munro, and it was by a Hoyk company called Firebrand. And so it started life down in the Borders, and that was just great. I really enjoyed it. But you know, I won a Best Actress for that, and that was a real surprise. I sat there at the award ceremony like this, thinking, all right, okay. Oh God, it's me, you know, and I had to kind of go down all the steps. I thought, oh, how embarrassing! I'm not even sitting, you know. So it doesn't come very easily to me. It's still a real surprise. But
Well, congratulations on the Fringe
Thank you.
first, and congratulations as well for your role in Taggart and
Oh, thank
having
you.
almost 2 decades to build and create
I
and
know.
maintain and learn, I guess,
and learn,
as well. I mean,
and it's like and you learn the craft. And
it's something that a lot of actors, I guess,
don't get an opportunity.
don't get the chance to do.
They don't, and therefore, you know, I know how that whole thing works and how the publicity of that works, and you know that's an incredible learning curve. So, you know, there is not one moment, not an ounce of my career that I haven't thoroughly enjoyed. So, if that continues, I'll be laughing.
Well, the Travers Theatre is the place to see Blyth Duff in Kira until the 25th of August, and as we've discussed, the times do vary, so head along to the Travers website, probably the best thing to do, travers.co.uk, and find out more. Blyth, a pleasure speaking to
Oh,
you
how
today.
nice. Thank you. I've
Thank
really
you very
enjoyed my
much.
chat.
Thank you, me too.
Take
Me
care.
too.
The greatest hits.